Nowhere Boy by Catherine Marsh is about a boy named Ahmed who is 14 years old, and he hasn't known much stability in his rather short life, and especially not since Syria's civil war drove he and his family to seek refuge across the sea. And so at the beginning of the book, he's already lost his mother and his grandparents, and it's just him and his dad, and they're floating out in the Aegean Sea, hoping to make it into Europe to find any country that will take them in as refugees. You know, no matter, they don't even care where they end up. And all of a sudden, this wave hits the boat and carries Ahmed's dad overboard, and that's just in the first first couple of chapters of the book. And so all of a sudden, Ahmed is orphaned, and he's completely marooned in Europe. And when he gets there, he meets up with smugglers that were supposed to help him, find a place to stay and kind of lay low for a while and get established. But the smuggler actually ends up ripping him off, taking his cell phone, which had all of the photos of his native country and his family on it. So he's left with no means of communication, no money, trying to figure out how he can live in this strange country where he doesn't speak the language at all, and he doesn't even know what he's going to do next. And he has to he can't go to the authorities. He has to avoid. He basically has to avoid people and try to figure out how to survive. And then the second character in this book is a kid named Max, who is a 13-year-old American. And Max's father is in the Foreign Service. But of course, Max never wanted to leave his home in Washington, D.C. and come to Brussels in Belgium, where his dad is going to be working at the embassy. But he's ended up there nonetheless, and he's already planning to fail school epically. He was already failing in America, and now he's got to repeat the 6th grade here in Europe. And he's going to a French-speaking school, and the only main problem is that he doesn't really speak any French at all, so he doesn't know how he's going to get by. He just feels like a fish out of water. And so Ahmed is hiding out in the basement of this house, and he kind of sneaks upstairs when nobody's around. He'll get a little bit of food or stuff that he needs to survive, basically. And he's kind of trying to figure out his next moves. And it turns out that the house that Ahmed has stumbled into and is hiding out in is Max's house. And so their two paths cross, and the two form a fast friendship, partially based on their outsider status, and also based a lot on their different backgrounds. And so they end up really learning from each other and growing together. And Max, ends up helping Ahmed to live and survive, and also vice versa. Ahmed helps Max to learn to adapt, to make friends, to get by in this new city. And so the two, form a fast friendship and a good bond. So I thought this was a really great book. I love both of the characters and the way that the book alternates their perspectives from chapter to chapter. So there's both Max and Ahmed chapters, and you really learn a lot about both of the different characters in it. So if you enjoy books about friendship, or you want to read books about, current refugee issues and immigration issues, I thought Nowhere Boy was just a really excellent book. And Catherine Marsh did a really, really great job at writing both of these characters. This is a really, really good Oregon Battle of the Books pick. Highly recommend it. Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson is an awesome book to read if you guys like Marvel movies or DC movies, or basically just superhero movies in general, because it puts a new spin on superhero lore and what superpowers can do to people. So in this book, epics are the humans who have the superpowers, only they don't use their superpowers for good, because those powers ultimately corrupt their souls, corrupt their minds, and make them into these murderers who want everybody to worship them and think of themselves as divine. And so Steelheart is one of these epics, and he has the ability to turn anything that he touches into steel. And that also includes his skin, which makes him impervious to physical harm. So he's very, very hard to stop. And years ago, he murdered David's father, but that was not before David witnessed his father actually hurt Steelheart, and so he thinks that he knows what Steelheart's weakness is. And so David is now 18 years old, and he wants to join this group called the Reckoners, who are this select group of epic hunters. And they're basically highly skilled, highly technological people who have made it their lives to stop epics, to made it their lives goal. And they are led by this really eccentric guy named Prof, who is able to grant them some super superpowers of their own, only those powers don't corrupt them. So Prof kind of kicks them out. He reminds me a little bit of Professor X in the X-Men or something like that. And so they have to survive from the Epics, because of course the Epics want to do in the Reckoners, and because they're trying to stop them. So they have to hide from the Epics and use covert ops to get around them. And so basically this book is like sort of like one long, awesome comic book battle against these different villains who have different powers. So there is Nightwielder, who is this sort of incorporeal being, and he can take different shadows and make them into weapons like spears and knives. And then Firefight has flame powers, and Conflux is a human battery. And so they all have these interesting powers, and they have to be stopped by the Reckoners. But of course, they're all led by the evil Steelheart. And so this is the first book in the Reckoners series. Highly recommend it. It's an excellent read if you like fast-paced books, dystopian books, or Marvel movies or other comic book movies. Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. What are you the best at? In The Best at It by Malik Pancholi, Rahul Kapoor, who is an Indian-American 7th grade student, is advised one day by his grandfather to find the one thing that you're really good at, become the best at it, and kind of use that to get through life. The only problem is that Rahul just has no idea what he might be the best at and what his skills really are. He's already constantly bullied at school by this kid named Brent, who's just, he's really awful to him all the time. And he's also trying to get by with his schoolwork and kind of try to figure out who he is. So he doesn't feel like he has time to really, to find his niche and find his skill and find out what he's the best at and get better at it. And so he thinks he's too skinny. He thinks he's too nerdy. He's worried that his family, don't fit in because they're from India, and that people don't accept him because of that. And furthermore, he thinks he has a crush on another boy in his class, and he's worried about what his classmates and also his family is going to think about that. So he's going through all these different things, and he has obsessive compulsive disorder, and he has a series of rituals that he has to do at home, kind of to try to make him feel that everything is going okay. So he's going through a lot in his life, and on top of that, underneath that is all of this insecurity that he feels. And so Rahul gets advised by his teacher to go out for the mathletes, but he's afraid that in joining the mathletes team, everybody's going to think he's even nerdier than they already do, and will just end up bullying him more. So he decides not to go out for the mathletes, even though he's really good at math and science. He also tries his hand at sports and acting and various different school activities that he doesn't, he ends up not really being that good at. So will Rahul ever find out what he's good at? Fortunately, he has this awesome friend named Chelsea in the book who helps him all along the way and helps him grow and, kind of figure out who he is too. I really like this book. I love the main character, Rahul. I just wanted him to grow and figure out who he was and, really feel secure in his own skin. So highly recommend this one, and it might help you guys understand a little bit about what other people, other people who go to school with you are going through that you may not even be aware of. So it's kind of about those internal struggles that everybody faces and the need to be accepted. So this book is called The Best at It by Malik Pancholi. Absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it.